Hello fellow Dragon Ball fans, how are all of you doing today? I'm the Swagcog and welcome to the pilot episode of the series called Dragon Ballogy. To kick off this series, I'll be talking about one of the most iconic aspects of the entire Dragon Ball franchise, the Super Saiyan transformations. Considering just how many of those there are, 12 to be exact, yes, 12, I'd say I definitely have my hands full and that I've got a lot to talk about here. Bearing that in mind and pushing that aside, let's answer the biggest question here, that being, what is a Super Saiyan? Well, as many people who are fans of Dragon Ball know, despite how it sounds, Super Saiyan isn't a title. It's a transformation that Saiyans have the ability to undergo under certain circumstances. It has a lot of different variants, 12 as I said before, that can be reached either by manipulating and training the base Super Saiyan form or through outside causes. With so many of these different forms to talk about, I think it's best that we start with the original, vanilla, base Super Saiyan form. The basic Super Saiyan transformation made its debut in Dragon Ball manga chapter 317, Life or Death, during Goku's battle against Frieza. All throughout the Frieza saga, the form was mentioned on numerous occasions, although a lot of these occasions just consisted of Vegeta rambling on about it with his jaw dropped. The form didn't actually make a physical appearance until the fight against Frieza after Krillin exploded and Goku was thrust into a state of rage. But since its debut, it's become one of the most recognizable aspects of the entire series. Super Saiyan, upon its introduction, was implied to be a very special ability that would only make an appearance every 1,000 years or so and that only one person could wield. The value of the transformation decreased severely over time though, with there being over 20 characters capable of using it at the time. This definitely has to do with natural power progression in the series, since by the time Boo showed up, the form was basically required for a character to be even sort of useful. In any case, the transformation is an incredibly useful one. It makes a Saiyan a whopping 50 times more powerful than they are in their base form, a whole 2.5 times more than the furthest Goku ever multiplied his power with the Kaioken. The form is also a lot more useful than the Kaioken because, while it's shown to consume some level of energy, the level of strain it puts on the user's body is far less than the Kaioken, and the transformation can be used for a much longer period of time without any sort of consequence. Under normal circumstances, a Saiyan will undergo the transformation once they reach a particular level of anger. For Goku, this was when Frieza killed Krillin. For Vegeta, this was when he felt he had no way of surpassing Goku. For future Trunks, it was when he found that the androids had killed Gohan, and so on. It should be noted that the transformation is only said to happen in response to a need, like when Goku needed the power in order to beat Frieza, as opposed to the simple desire to get stronger. Another requirement that was introduced but later discarded was for the Saiyan to be completely pure of heart, pure good, or pure evil in Vegeta's case, but this was later shown not to be the case when characters like Bardock were able to use the transformation. After transforming, a Saiyan will undergo a handful of changes. The most notable of these is that their hair will glow either golden or blonde and stand up straight in a chaotic spiky pattern. Their eyes will also, regardless of the original color, become an aquamarine hue. Because of a Super Saiyan's enormous energy output, they will often be surrounded in a large golden aura of energy, making a whoosh 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 noise, although it seems most of the characters have gotten enough control over the form to minimize this. The form also has a noticeable effect on the user's personality. Saiyans with a good disposition tend to become ruthless and driven by rage, and Saiyans who are already ruthless to begin with become even more aggressive and, to put it more simply, even more ruthless. The last bit has caused Krillin to theorize that it's impossible for a Super Saiyan to wield Spirit Bomb, and a bit of truth to this was shown in the Super Android 13 movie when Goku was forced to absorb the Spirit Bomb due to his heart being contaminated with rage. As a footnote, a lot of these traits aren't shown universally across all Saiyans, and the two prime examples of a lot of exceptions to these rules are Goten and present Trunks. Neither transformed out of rage, neither became ruthless and angry upon transforming, etc, etc. Next up are the Super Saiyan form's 3 basic variants: 2nd grade Super Saiyan, 3rd grade Super Saiyan, and Full Power Super Saiyan. Full Power Super Saiyan was first used by Goku and Gohan after they exited the hyperbolic time chamber, and later in the battle against Cell. Whether or not it's actually considered a separate form from the vanilla Super Saiyan form is up for debate though, because the only time it's ever referred to as Full Power Super Saiyan is in the Daisenshu, and in the main series it's only treated as a more advanced form of the form. In any case, Full Power Super Saiyan works pretty simply. Basically, it allows the user to get the 50 times power boost granted by the base Super Saiyan form without having to deal with any of the form's other effects. The physical effects like the gold and spiky hair are still present, but things such as energy consumption and changes to a Saiyan's personality are not visible here. The changes are actually minimized so much that Vegeta says their ki no longer feels like the ki of a Super Saiyan, and that sensing them in this state is exactly like sensing their ki in their base form. It's actually pretty similar to a real-life phenomenon where, after training themselves extensively, aerobics athletes enter a state of rest where their heart and breathing rates go down significantly. The advantages to full power Super Saiyan don't come in the form of a power boost. It's more like mixing all the positives of remaining in the base form with those of taking the Super Saiyan form and removing all the negative effects of either, allowing the user to conserve most of their energy and fight more strategically than an untrained Super Saiyan. The use of the form can be shown best when looking at the way Goku and Gohan use it constantly throughout the Cell Saga without ever reverting to base form or running out of energy. Second and third grade Super Saiyan both work in drastically different ways and, unlike full power Super Saiyan, focus on making the Super Saiyan form more powerful. Second grade Super Saiyan, which also goes by the names of Ascended Saiyan, Ultra Super Saiyan, Super Saiyan 1.5, or Super Vegeta for those of you who call it any of those things, is the first branch of the Ascended Super Saiyan forms that fall between Super Saiyan and Super Saiyan 2. It first appeared when Vegeta used it against Cell and hasn't really shown up since. Because the power increase likely isn't even double that of a Super Saiyan and the form uses an incredible amount of energy, this isn't much of a shocker. The differences in appearance between a second grade Super Saiyan and a regular Super Saiyan, while not quite as subtle as those of full power Super Saiyan, aren't too big. The only real change caused by the form is an increase in muscle size, but due to the inconsistency in character art and build throughout both the manga and anime, it later became a bit difficult to distinguish second grade Super Saiyan from regular Super Saiyan. Third grade Super Saiyan, also known as Buff Super Saiyan, Super Trunks, and surprisingly like the last one, Ultra Super Saiyan, is a form that has ascended even further than second grade Super Saiyan as the name implies. It was first used by Trunks in the battle against Cell, and like second grade Super Saiyan, never really made another appearance after its debut. There isn't a whole bunch to say about this form since it's a bit similar to second grade Super Saiyan. It's still a forced increase in power from regular Super Saiyan, but the increase in muscle size is way more apparent here than before. Third grade Super Saiyan's muscle size rivals that of legendary Super Saiyan, and it's the only form to do that to this day. Because of the increase in brute strength brought about by the form, it saps more energy and also lowers the user's speed. It seems like every character who was Super Saiyan at the time, and even Cell for that matter, could do this, but they opted not to because the sacrifice in speed wasn't worth the power boost. In the words of Goku, "These bulky muscles make it hard to move fast, and if I'm going to beat Cell, I can't have anything slowing me down. I may have great power, but what good is it if I can't catch my enemy? It takes more than brute strength to win a fight." Now that we've got all of Super Saiyan 1's variants out of the way, we can move on to all of the other forms, and I think it's best to start with Super Saiyan 2 and Super Saiyan 3. Super Saiyan 2 is, out of the 4 transformations in the main Super Saiyan line, probably the least iconic and the least unique. That's not to bag on Super Saiyan 2 or anything, but just to say it's not all that different from Super Saiyan 1. That said, it's certainly more different from regular Super Saiyan than any of the previous 3 forms. While it's still treated as Ascended Super Saiyan by the characters for quite some time, what separates it from the other Ascended Super Saiyan forms is that it's not just a forced increase in power of the regular Super Saiyan form. It's sort of a separate form from regular Super Saiyan, but also sort of not, but that issue's a bit complicated, so I'll get into it later. The important thing about Super Saiyan 2 is that it is similar to Ascended Super Saiyan, but is not the same thing. This is probably made the most clear at the time of the form's debut, when Gohan first attains it in the fight against Cell. There are enough differences to show that it is clearly different from regular Ascended Super Saiyan, but there are enough hints tossed in to show that it's still an ascended form of the base Super Saiyan. Trunks basically labels this as the correct Ascended Super Saiyan form, saying that Gohan did it right by increasing his power output without losing speed, actually increasing speed instead. Unlike the 2 basic Super Saiyan Ascended variants, Super Saiyan 2 actually has a stated strength increase. It is 2 times more powerful than the regular Super Saiyan form, making it 100 times more powerful than a Saiyan's base form. This multiplies everything from strength to speed to stamina to durability to perception. The prerequisites for attaining the form are a little more complicated than those of the regular Super Saiyan form, but nothing too bad. First, the Saiyan has to train until they gain a massive amount of energy, a lot larger than that of regular Super Saiyan. Afterwards, the Saiyan needs to experience a powerful emotional upheaval, one even greater than the one that triggers Super Saiyan. Because of the rage that drives the transformation, Super Saiyan 2, like its predecessor, has a notable effect on the user's personality. Like with Super Saiyan 1 though, the user can train themselves to minimize this, and as a result, Gohan has been the only character shown under the effects of this personality change. Based on what was shown, it seems like Super Saiyan 2 has the same effect on a Saiyan's personality as their initial transformation into Super Saiyan 1, turning the normally kind and serene Gohan into a ruthless, vengeful engine of rage. As I said earlier though, it's possible for the user to minimize this through training, as shown when Goku remains perfectly calm after taking the form in the Buu Saga. Despite that, it doesn't seem like the form's increased energy consumption can be done away with through training or anything like that, like is the case with Super Saiyan 1. The overall effects on the user's appearance vary slightly from person to person, but most Saiyans seem to share a handful of particular traits. All Saiyans retain their golden hair and aquamarine eye color, but the hair grows slightly sharper and the shape of their bangs, if they have any, is altered just a bit. The change in hair is the most visible in the case of Teen Gohan, a case where the hair is completely different between forms. In the cases of characters like Vegeta and adolescent Gohan, though, it's much harder to see a difference. The most iconic effect the form has on the user, though, is the lightning that surrounds the body. The user's body will be surrounded in repeated flickers of lightning bolts, which makes it much easier to distinguish the form from its predecessor, although there are a number of cases where the animators leave lightning out of a Super Saiyan 2's aura, which has led to some confusion as to whether certain characters were Super Saiyan 2 or not at particular points. This is a problem present more often in the anime than the manga though, and is a completely non-existent issue in other media like Dragon Ball video games. Super Saiyan 3 is almost a completely different beast altogether from the previous 5 forms. It's 4 times stronger than Super Saiyan 2, making it a whopping 400 times stronger than a Saiyan's base form, but its drawbacks are unlike that of any of the other forms. When it first debuted in chapter 474 of the Dragon Ball manga, fittingly titled Super Saiyan Level 3, Goku displayed that the power of the form vastly exceeded that of any single character shown in the series up to that point in time, but that power came at the cost of using up enough energy to cut his time on Earth in half. Whereas 3rd grade Super Saiyan focuses on increasing physical power in exchange for speed, Super Saiyan 3 focuses on increasing the utilization of ki in exchange for enormous energy consumption. The form setbacks aren't so much in-battle handicaps like with 3rd grade Super Saiyan as they are kind of a limitation, basically limiting the user so that they are only able to use the form for a certain period of time. The strain on Goku's body was so heavy in the fight against Kid Buu that, when he tried to power up to 100% in the form, he was knocked out of it and into his base form, left with so little energy that he couldn't power up into lower levels of Super Saiyan or even properly control the Spirit Bomb. It had a similar effect on Gotenks, forcing him to revert to base form in something close to 5 minutes when he was fighting Super Buu. The most extreme case of the Super Saiyan 3 form sapping the energy of the user is in Dragon Ball GT, where Goku's child body can only handle the transformation for 30 seconds before it forced him to revert to his base form again. A fun bit of side trivia is that the Super Saiyan 3 form may be responsible for each Super Saiyan form being labeled with a number. Super Saiyan 2 had just been referred to as Ascended Super Saiyan up until the point when Super Saiyan 3 was introduced, which even led Krillin to say, he must be bluffing. I mean, what would that make him, double Ascended? When Goku said he could ascend past a Super Saiyan 2. It wasn't until Goku named the forms Super Saiyan 2 and Super Saiyan 3 while talking to Babidi and Majin Buu that they acquired these titles. Ascended Saiyan being relabeled Super Saiyan 2 also may have led to some confusion among video game developers, as both Super Vegeta and Super Trunks forms were replaced with Super Saiyan 2, wrongly leaving future Trunks with a Super Saiyan 2 form in both Budokai 2 and Budokai 3. As far as appearance goes, Super Saiyan 3 is pretty ridiculous. Unlike Super Saiyan 2, its defining trait isn't an aura. On the contrary, the aura of Super Saiyan 3 is actually identical to that of Super Saiyan 2. Its defining factors are apparent the moment the form is taken. First, the Saiyan's hair grows to be incredibly long, waist length to be precise, while still retaining the spiky makeup of the previous Super Saiyan forms. The other change is that the Saiyan loses their eyebrows, leaving them with a bulky patch of skin where their eyebrows used to be. Unlike the rest of the Super Saiyan forms, Super Saiyan 3 doesn't seem to have any effect on the user's personality, likely due to the fact that it is attained through training as opposed to any emotional surge. In Gotenks' case, he is far more cocky as a Super Saiyan 3 than in his base form or Super Saiyan forms, but in Goku's case he remains almost the same when in the form. Considering Gotenks' already high level of immaturity though, it makes sense that the power might end up going to his head as opposed to Goku's. Speaking of those two characters, Goku and Gotenks are the only characters to this day to have canonically attained Super Saiyan 3. There have been many what-if instances in outside media where characters have been given the form, and the most notable of these are Vegeta and Broly from the Raging Blast video games. Other Super Saiyan 3s appear in Dragon Ball Heroes, where Bardock, Future Trunks, GT Trunks, Future Gohan, Goten, Gogeta, Vegito, Beat, and Note all achieve the transformation, which does a little to degrade the form's significance to say the least. Although the forms are powerful, Akira Toriyama has recently said in an interview that he plans on, in Goku's case at least, scrapping Super Saiyan 2 and 3 for the time being. He says, Super Saiyan 2 and 3 are nothing more than powered up variations of Super Saiyan. If the base form and Super Saiyan form can be mastered, it would increase the user's power more than Super Saiyan 2 and 3 do, and it would sap less energy. As of this video, nothing more about this is known, but if Toriyama holds true to his word, then it will be interesting how he plans to use this idea. Up next are a few oddball Super Saiyan forms, which are all movie and video game exclusive as well as entirely non-canon. The first of these is the unofficially labeled False Super Saiyan, or Gigi Super Saiyan as it is called in Japan. Because of how brief this form's appearance was, there's very little that can be said about it. During its brief appearance in Dragon Ball Z Lord Slug, False Super Saiyan was improperly referred to as Super Saiyan by King Kai after Goku took the form, and its clear differences that separated it from the real Super Saiyan form are what gave it the title of False Super Saiyan. How it works was never really explained in detail. All that is known about it for sure are its aesthetic effects on the user and that it gives the user a substantial power boost for a very short amount of time. For something around a minute, Goku was able to completely thrash Lord Slug in the form, which is quite impressive considering how the same enemy was having no trouble at all with Goku just moments earlier. False Super Saiyan has an incredibly short duration though, probably an even shorter one than that of Super Saiyan God, making it a pretty impractical battle technique. It is theorized that its short time limit is a cause of the user needing to be in a completely detached mental state, although this has never been officially confirmed. Its aesthetic effects on the user are, if I may say so myself, pretty badass. Their hair stands straight up in the air like with regular Super Saiyan, but the color is a dark glowing maroon instead of Super Saiyan's iconic gold. The aura, on the other hand, is golden though. There's no change in eye color, but instead a complete removal of the Saiyan's pupils in a fashion similar to legendary Super Saiyan. And while I'm on the topic of legendary Super Saiyan, or the legendary Space Super Warrior as it is called in the Big Green dub, I might as well go ahead and dive into this form headfirst. This form, like False Super Saiyan, is in no visible way related to or affected by the regular Super Saiyan form and has also only appeared in non-canon movie specials. Also, like False Super Saiyan, it removes the user's pupils, changes the hair to an unusual color, was only used by one character on screen, and grants the user an unspecified but obviously substantial power boost. Unlike False Super Saiyan, the form's hair color and aura seem to be greenish yellow, and it also gives the user the most ridiculous muscle buff of all time. There's no one in the series with a larger set of muscles than legendary Super Saiyan Broly, and that's honestly a good thing since his forearms are probably bigger than Chaozu's entire body. Whether it has this effect on all of its users is unknown, as Broly was the only character to ever take the form, but it isn't too much of a stretch to say that all legendary Super Saiyans are probably jacked beyond human imagination. Legendary Super Saiyan's power is, like I said earlier, undefined, but it's made clear that this transformation is substantially stronger than Super Saiyan 1. The combined efforts of Goku, Piccolo, Gohan, Vegeta, and Future Trunks weren't even enough to slow Broly down. A depressingly common misconception among the fan base is that he is strong enough to destroy a galaxy on his own due to the statement at the beginning of Broly the Legendary Super Saiyan's English dub, where the narrator says that a Super Saiyan has destroyed the South Galaxy, but this is due to what has to be an enormous translation failure since the entire fight against Broly takes place in the South Galaxy. Despite being a movie-only form, Legendary Super Saiyan has made an appearance in a hefty number of video games, even making it into the Dragon Ball Z RPG Attack of the Saiyans, where Legendary Super Saiyan Broly appears as a secret super boss despite the game only covering up to the end of the Saiyan saga. Another form similar to this that has actually appeared in a few video games but is actually exclusive to those games is Legendary Super Saiyan 3. Now, whether or not Legendary Super Saiyan 3 is actually a thing or not is up for debate, since this is just referred to as Super Saiyan 3 in the Raging Blast video games, but because it looks so drastically different from regular Super Saiyan 3, I think it deserves a brief mention. This form has appeared in Dragon Ball Raging Blast 1 and 2 along with Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Battlers, and Dragon Ball Heroes. The form has a slightly varied appearance across each game, but for the most part it just looks like what you'd expect from a cross between Super Saiyan 3 and Legendary Super Saiyan. It looks really weird in Raging Blast 2 though, since Broly's hair is made as green as grass. All there is to be said about this form is it's basically what would happen if Legendary Super Saiyan had a baby with Super Saiyan 3. Nothing else is really special about it. Now that we've got the movie and video game exclusive forms out of the way, it's time to move on to the final three and most powerful of the Super Saiyan forms. Golden Great Ape, Oganozaru, or Golden Ozaru is another form here that may or may not be considered a Super Saiyan form based on what the viewer thinks. In any case, since this is only kind of a Super Saiyan transformation, I'll keep this one as short as possible. Golden Great Ape is a form that has appeared exclusively in Dragon Ball GT and outside media, debuting in GT Episode 33, The Tail's Tale. It seems to be basically what happens when Super Saiyan and the regular Great Ape form are combined into one, which actually might be exactly what happens to create the form given what is needed to be done to attain it. A Saiyan will become a Golden Great Ape the same way any Saiyan transforms into a regular Great Ape, by taking in Blitz waves reflected from the moon or even another planet, as long as they have a tail. Vegeta was able to do this without a tail by taking in artificial Blitz waves generated by Bulma, and Baby was able to do the same thing. The catch is that the Saiyan must also already be a regular Super Saiyan, which explains why the fur is golden instead of the usual brown. Golden Great Ape looks almost exactly like regular Great Ape, with the only difference being the extremely obvious golden fur that covers the user's body in place of brown fur. This appearance is incredibly similar to the image shown when Vegeta first discussed the original Super Saiyan, which has led to the fan base hypothesizing that the original Super Saiyan was in fact a Golden Great Ape. As far as power goes, the boost granted by Golden Great Ape has never been officially stated. It is clearly shown to be stronger than Super Saiyan 3, and given that it is basically a Great Ape going Super Saiyan at the same time, it is not uncommon to see someone who believes that the form is about 500 times stronger than a Saiyan's base form. Originally, the only 3 characters who had ever taken the form on screen were Goku, Vegeta, and Baby, but of course, like every Super Saiyan form in the series so far, outside media has given certain characters what-if access to the form. This only stretches far enough to reach Gogeta and Broly, the latter of which has sort of a special version of the form called Emerald Great Ape. Nothing more has been said about Emerald Great Ape, and because of its relative obscurity, it likely won't see the light of day outside of Dragon Ball Heroes. Golden Great Ape, however, was made basically irrelevant just minutes after its first appearance by the hand of Super Saiyan 4. Despite its advantages, Golden Great Ape is nowhere near as deadly as Super Saiyan 4, and is actually nothing more than the gateway to the iconic 4th Super Saiyan form. Super Saiyan 4 made its debut in GT's 34th episode, directly following the episode in which Golden Great Ape first appeared. Now, before we go any further, let me explain what I mean by Golden Great Ape is a gateway to Super Saiyan 4. See, Super Saiyan 4's prerequisites are unlike that of any other Super Saiyan form. First of all, the requirements for attaining Golden Great Ape must be fulfilled, but after that, the Saiyan in question must gain conscious control over themselves while transformed into a Golden Great Ape. This has been shown to be rather difficult, as all 3 characters who took the Golden Great Ape form struggled to gain control over themselves upon their initial transformation, even Vegeta, who was proven to have complete control over himself in the regular Great Ape form. Once the Saiyan gains control over themselves, the transformation from Golden Great Ape will begin almost immediately. Because of the amount of hoops a Saiyan has to jump through in order to reach Super Saiyan 4, it's certainly a difficult form to obtain, something made much more evident by the fact that only 2 characters, or 3 counting Gogeta, have canonically achieved the form, those 2 being Goku and Vegeta. This feat is made even more impressive when considering how insanely powerful the form is, which I'll get into now. Super Saiyan 4 is crazy. Super Saiyan 3's already ridiculous power is multiplied by 10 when a Saiyan transforms into Super Saiyan 4, at least according to Dragon Ball Z Scouter Battle Taiken Kamehameha, making the form an insane 4,000 times stronger than a Saiyan's base form. This easily trumped every power boosting ability in the series, at the time it debuted anyway, and in addition, the form consumes much less energy than the power-sapping Super Saiyan 3 form, allowing the user to continue using it for a much longer period of time. This doesn't seem to be the case when the form is used in conjunction with fusion, however, as Gogeta's fuse time limit dropped from 30 minutes to less than 10 minutes under the effects of the form. Super Saiyan 4 even seems to be badass enough to negate wishes made by the Dragon Balls, which is implied by Goku's shift from child to adult every time he transforms. Super Saiyan 4 also causes a more dramatic change in appearance than any other Saiyan transformation in the series. Although these changes vary slightly from character to character, they're all very similar for the most part. First and foremost, all Saiyans shown with the form have their body covered with fur. The color of the fur tends to be a shade of red, ranging from pink to blood red to crimson brown, a color change also shown in the Saiyan's tail. The user's hair grows to be about shoulder length and changes drastically in color from Super Saiyan. This color change varies radically among characters as well. Goku's hair becomes black, Vegeta's becomes brown, and Gogeta's becomes crimson. The user's eyes also acquire heavy eyeshadow, and a change in the color of the pupil, which both, go figure, vary slightly in color from character to character. Also, the aura of Super Saiyan 4 takes a sort of flame shape, and the lightning present in Super Saiyan 2 and 3 is no longer there. Also, really quickly, I do think it's important to mention one thing. Super Saiyan 4, while sharing the same Super Saiyan followed by a number-esque title that the rest of the forms have, isn't just a powered-up version of Super Saiyan like Super Saiyan 2 and Super Saiyan 3. It's actually supposed to be the natural successor to Super Saiyan, which explains why the changes in appearance between this form and its predecessor are much more drastic than those of Super Saiyan 2 and 3. The user becomes wild and playful, almost to a primitive extent, and they begin to battle using much less thought or strategy than they normally would. The most extreme case is Gogeta, who basically just dicked around for 10 minutes instead of killing Omega Shenron like he should have, leaving Goku and Vegeta unable to defend themselves after the fusion ended and Omega was still alive. Super Saiyan 4's weirdest effect by far is its creation of a magical set of clothes for the user. Its effect on females have yet to be shown, but all males are stripped of their shirts and given a set of pants unique to the form, sort of like how the fusion technique creates a Metamarese outfit for the user. When Super Saiyan 4 reverts to their base form though, the regular clothes will be restored regardless of their previous condition. Super Saiyan 4 also, because of how relatively little is explained about it, has a whole lot of theories surrounding it. One that sort of is and sort of isn't about Super Saiyan 4 is the theoretical existence of Super Saiyan 5 mentioned by Bulma, Vegeta, and GT. One that relates specifically to Super Saiyan 4 is the theory that the original Super Saiyan was also a Super Saiyan 4, which is supported by the fact that the Elder Kai knew of the form existence before Goku transformed. And another theory credited to Bulma is that the form is only accessible to full-blooded Saiyans, which explains why Baby couldn't transform while controlling Vegeta. There are many more fan theories about the form as one would expect, but if I sat here talking about all of them, I'd be here for way too long, so I'll just leave it at that. One final thing I have to say about Super Saiyan 4 is that, like with Super Saiyan 3 and Golden Grade 8, Dragon Ball heroes let Broly use it for what-if purposes. He's the only what-if Super Saiyan 4 so far, and that's a bit disappointing considering the enormous amount of Saiyans who should definitely be able to take the form in what-if scenarios like Bardock, Turles, Raditz, and such. Finally, we come to the end-all be-all Super Saiyan transformation, the strongest transformation in all of Dragon Ball, Super Saiyan God. Despite how important the form is and will be to Dragon Ball, there is surprisingly little to say about Super Saiyan God. As just about everyone knows, it debuted in Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods, and so far that is the only source of information about the form. It was also referenced lightly in Dragon Ball Minus by Frieza, but until Fukatsu no F's release, it doesn't seem like we'll receive any more information about it. Disregarding that, there is still a hefty amount to talk about, so let's just dive right in. Shenron tells Beerus, Whis, and the Z Fighters that long ago, a small group of pure-hearted Saiyans poured their hearts together to create a savior, a Super Saiyan God. At some point on planet Vegeta, the Super Saiyan God showed up in an effort to defeat all of the evil Saiyans residing on the planet, but he ran out of time to use the form and was overwhelmed by the Saiyans who remained. Maybe this legend will be expanded upon in the future, but for now this is all we have to go off of regarding the form's history. In any case, the prerequisites for becoming a Super Saiyan God are pretty simple, much more simple than Super Saiyan 4's if I may say so myself. Its biggest hurdle to leap over is that it requires 6 good-willed Saiyans to be gathered into one spot, but once those are acquired, the task of creating a Super Saiyan God becomes really simple. 5 of the 6 Saiyans must pour their energy into the one decided vessel of the transformation, and after that, the Saiyan will transform for a limited time. Simple as that. Even though Super Saiyan God is the most powerful transformation the series has ever seen, its physical effects on the user are more or less pretty simple. It's basically like what the Kaioken does to the user without turning the color of the person's skin and clothes to red. In Goku's case, his hair, without changing shape, becomes bright pinkish red, his clothes grow shiny, and his build becomes a bit more lean. His irises shift from completely black to the same red as his hair, and his aura takes the appearance and color of a raging fire. In terms of power, as I said earlier, Super Saiyan God is easily the series' most powerful transformation. Goku's statement to Vegeta that they couldn't beat Beerus even if they fused implies that Super Saiyan God made Goku even more powerful than, or at least close to the strength of Super Vegito, which is a ridiculous feat to say the very least. There is no stated numerical power increase, but because base form Vegito seemed to be stronger than Super Saiyan 3 Goku, making him over 400 times stronger than Goku's base form, and Super Vegito was at least 50 times stronger than that, it means that if Goku wasn't exaggerating, then Super Saiyan God makes its user at the very least 20,000 times more powerful than their base form. With that power comes the hefty price of a time limit though. Like Gotenks and Gogeta, Goku can only maintain his ridiculous power for a limited time, a couple minutes to be more precise, before returning to his base form, but he seemed to work around this by doing something along the lines of temporarily absorbing Super Saiyan God's energy, which allowed him to continue fighting at Beerus' level. Still, despite the form's enormous power, transforming into a god only makes Goku a little more than half as strong as Beerus, and barely over a third as strong as Whis. In the words of Akira Toriyama, Goku is like a 6, Beerus a 10, and Whis a 15. Even though the transformation is relatively new, it's already made its way into a handful of Dragon Ball video games. At the time of this video, that number is 7, but that's a number that's very likely to increase steadily over time. As of now, no character other than Goku has become a Super Saiyan God in any licensed Dragon Ball media, but like with all other forms, I'm sure we can expect a bunch of what-if transformations for all sorts of Saiyans. But that's for the future and not for now, and until then I don't really have much else to say about Super Saiyan God. So it looks like that concludes the first lesson of Dragon Ballogy, and so to say the least, I hope you learned something. Until next time, I'll see you later, but in the meantime, let me know in the comments what Dragon Ball topics you would like me to cover in future episodes. With that, I bid you farewell. Swagkage out.